Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Say It Like It Is with your boy Franklin. Right, today we'll be looking at 5 helpful tips for visa interview success. So for the context of this video, I'm going to use visa interview in Nigeria as an example. Okay, very quickly before I proceed, I'm sure you're familiar as well. For example, in Nigeria, tons and tons of people every day, thousands actually, apply every day to leave the country, to travel abroad, and constantly looking for ways to go overseas and stuff. And from my personal observation, one of the fundamental problems is these embassies, they already have preconceived notions of thousands and thousands of Nigeria. They know that we have a pretty bad economy. They know that there is a social, economic problem with the citizens, everybody. There is a huge number of people that are constantly trying to, get out of the country via every means possible. And a massive chunk of those people, fortunately, might, try unscrupulous means, to use documentations or ways to break out, being dishonest and stuff like that. So I think it's one of the contributing factors to, I've had several stories of how the visa consulars are really mean and harsh, and they sort of abuse their powers, and sometimes in most cases they don't even provide reasons for refusing visas. First of all, I'd like you to know that the interview process, there's a huge misconception about what the interview process is about. See, interview process is not just about documentation. In fact, it's not about documentation. The visa interview process is about the consular meeting you in person and having a conversation with you. It might be for 5 minutes, it might be for 10 minutes. Bear in mind that they get to see hundreds of people, thousands every day. Do you know what I mean? So they've got limited time to speak to you. And prior to that meeting, they already have documentations, your completed form, your submissions. So there's what you would call, there's already a preconceived notion, okay? So when you come in person, they've looked at your profile. So that person has a 5 to 10 minutes window to engage you. And if what you're saying doesn't correspond, or you're not convincing, they will cut you short and get rid of you. So interview, it's not just about, I've got all documentations, my interview is going to be fantastic. No, it's about you having a clear response to the questions and being honest, giving honest and convincing answers, okay? And right, I'm going to give you 5 bullet points. Number 1 is avoid giving false answers. Now, this unfortunately is very common. Trying to game the process, trying to outsmart the process, or trying to outsmart the consular. A lot of these people, they are trained professional. Bear that in mind. They're looking at your body language, they're listening to you. And one of the fundamental problems is most people, you might have possibly paid a travel agent. So say for example, a travel agent helped you prepare your application and stuff. What you find is most people don't even take the time themselves to read through the documentation and carry out their own findings. You're reliant completely on the travel agent. They do what they do. They put your application through to the relevant embassy, and then you go for face-to-face interview. And then the problem is you go there and you start talking nonsense. You start giving false information. So the moment they spot an element of dishonesty, trust me, it's game over. I've heard a lot of people, because the problem is, like I said, people don't even understand the visa process. A lot of people have a misconception. They just think there's this self-entitlement. I paid, I filed the documentation, why didn't they give me? Don't try. Don't even think about dishonesty, okay? Keep it simple. Give honest answers, okay? Point number 2 is giving wrong answers to a straightforward question. Okay, if somebody asks you a question, for example, I'm into farming. Okay. What made you go into farming business, right? You should be able to say, my dad or my grandfather was a farmer and then passed it on to my dad. So I've always worked on the farm with my dad, and I developed interest and I decided to go in that direction myself. So we're like 3 generations of farmers in my family. That makes sense, right? What happens is, because you've got limited time, they will just sum you up, cut you short, and just show you the door. Trust me. Give precise, concise, sensible answers. And another tip for you is put yourself in the shoes of the person interviewing you. What would you do if you were in their shoes, if you were interviewing me and I give you completely wrong answers that don't even correspond? Okay, right. Number 3, incomplete or false documents. I cannot stress this enough. If you're going for visa interview, the primary aim is to get the visa of the country you'd like to go to, right? I get it, people, you're trying to do everything you need to do to make sure you get that visa and stuff. But to be honest with you, filing fake documents have got severe consequences. Again, a lot of people have misconceptions. A lot of people find out the seriousness of the process when they get into the system, to the embassies, when they get into trouble. Okay, you see, when you get in there, they take your fingerprint and they've got powers. The moment they find you, trying to beat the process, trying to mislead them by filing false documentations. They remember, they will take your fingerprints. They can bar you from subsequent applications. They can completely ban you from coming back in future indefinitely. And there is a shared database with other countries which they can potentially share with them to deter you from trying other countries. And this will have serious consequences if you ever decide to travel to other countries. So whilst you might be desperate in the short term, you have to think very well, think carefully about the consequences of your actions. Okay, it's very important. Please, also, if you ever decide to use a travel agent, make sure, this is just free advice, you don't have to take it, make sure that the travel agent is registered, they have a registered business, they're credible. Look for feedback from people, not just hearsays. He says they are good, who has used their services, are they reputable, not just some random person who's claiming to be able to complete some forms online because you are too scared to do it yourself. Okay, this is very important. Nervousness. I get it, it's natural, people are nervous, and when you go for an interview, trust me, it's not helpful, because the moment you show nerves and stuff, they're likely to misconstrue your body language, and they might even be thinking you have something to hide, or maybe you're not trustworthy, and it might just be, you're just nervous, the atmosphere, you're a bit panicky, you're scared and stuff like that. So try to conceal your nervousness. No need. Have a bottle of water, drink, comport yourself, stay focused. If you can, listen to a bit of music before you get called. And the last one being lateness. You can't afford to be late to the embassies, man. You cannot. Make sure you're on time, you get there on time. Make sure you plan ahead, avoid traffic issues and all that stuff, okay? Because if you show up late, it's game over, okay? But before I go, if you're paying a travel agent, like I said earlier, make sure that you make the effort to carry out findings, investigate. Here is a golden factor that will help you to be successful. The embassies are interested in socio-economic, education and business ties to your home countries. This is one of the main factors that they normally use. For example, if you're a student and you want to go to, say, the States, America, right? F1 visa to go study. Now, it may be difficult for you because maybe you're a young teenager or whatever, or early 20s, and you're thinking, oh, I don't own a property yet. I don't own a land. Okay, my dad is sponsoring me, or my uncle is sponsoring me, trying to get an affidavit of support from like your dad or a member of your family. If you've gone to university in Nigeria, you've worked on a project, and a major project or research and stuff, try to show them, and you build on that to say, hey man, I want to go get more education, in America, and then when I come back, My intention is for me to set up my own business or join this company to be able to contribute positively to my home country to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Get affidavit, of support from someone or persons who are reputable in the society. This will strengthen your position, okay? Well, that's it for now. It's your boy Franklin. I hope this helps anyone. If you got any question, leave your comment below. Look in the description if you see my email address. I'm more than happy to help you and ask me your questions and stuff. And I wish you all the best with your visa interviews, okay? It's your boy Franklin, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.